Hello grade 12s, how are you doing? Welcome to Life Science, and today we are going to have a look at the reproductive organs in humans. Right, so before we always start, as we start, we always need to look at the most important thing is your terminology. Remember, when it comes to terminology, if you know your terminology, you'll be able to do it in a much better way. You understand it better. If you don't know your terminology, you haven't got a clue what we're talking about. Right, so let's have a look. Let's have a look on the screen here, what we have. First thing, okay, we're going to look at puberty, okay, gametes, ovulation, and fertilization. Those 4 words. Okay, what I want you to do, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and in there I want you to give me explanations. When I come back, we'll give you the correct answer. So, 2 minutes, off you go. Okay, I've noticed that that wasn't too difficult for you, okay? These are simple words. So let's have a look what they were, right? Well, the answers are, should I say. Let's get some pen going here. Here, puberty. These are quite simple. It's the period during which adolescent reaches sexual maturity and becomes capable of reproduction, okay? Now, if you have a look at it, we normally say, well, this is when the boy starts growing, getting male secondary characteristics, and females start getting secondary characteristics, right? So think about it. The puberty is a difficult time. We've got hormones and everything going crazy. That is puberty, right? That's a simple one. Next one, let's have a look at it. Okay, gametes. These are ones you've definitely heard before. There's no doubt about it. Here we go. It's a mature male or female sex cell. In humans, we have the egg or the sperm. Okay, remember that. The egg and the sperm. When we talk about gametes, it's either one of the two. Okay, next one, ovulation. Now, this is a very special, and you'll hear us say it more and more as we're going through this program, right? So if we have a look at it, the ovaries release a ripe egg from the ovary. The ovaries release a ripe egg from the ovaries. Okay, this is a very, very specific time, okay? Because if that time happens, you need to know, or that egg gets released, and you've got a couple of days for fertilization to happen, which is already the next word. So you've got a couple of days for fertilization to happen, which is very, very, very important. Okay, let's look at the last word, which of course was fertilization, and that is the fusion of the sperm and egg to form a zygote. Okay, so that is when the sperm from the male comes along, it's a tiny sperm, right? Comes along and it goes to the female and it enters the female. That is fertilization. These are the simple ones. So what I thought is, because that's simple, let's go ahead and give you a couple more. Okay, and these ones a little bit more difficult, but not too bad, right? And there's 3 there, so I'm going to give you a minute. Think about it. No, actually, that's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to give you 2 minutes again. Okay, think about it. Give me perfect answers. Remember, when I'm giving you the answers, I'm explaining it as I'm going. Make sure you give me the answers that you will understand once we've done it. Okay, off you go. Great. You've gone through these words and you've given me everything. Remember, I only give you a small portion and I speak about the rest. Make sure you're writing down everything that you need. So let's have a look at it. The first word, okay, let me change the pen color. It is menstruation. Okay, now menstruation is a complete cycle. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Menstruation is the breakdown of the thick layer of blood in the uterus when released through the vagina. Okay, guys, remember, this is human reproduction or human organs or whatever. You need to remember, you are allowed to say these words, penis, vagina, sexual intercourse, all of this, it's fine, right? It's when you start giggling and start laughing that it becomes a problem, okay? This is fact. You're doing biology, get used to it. Okay, next one. The next word that we had a look at was copulation. I said that before we got to this, so here we go. It's the insertion of the male's erect penis into a woman's vagina, typically coming to a climax, right, and ejaculating semen. Okay, we've got to get rid of the semen. Okay, now that is copulation. Simple, easy. Okay, these words are, if you understand them, it makes it so much easier to express yourself when you have to write an essay or when they ask you questions. Very important to know them, right? And then, of course, you have your last one, ejaculation, and that is simple. It's an action of ejecting sperm from the body, okay? It is a build-up. And that build-up builds up and up and up, and when it's strong enough, it shoots it out so that it gives it a head start. Right? Because remember, it's got a long way to go. I mean, think about it. For us, that is not far. But for something that is so small, it's a long distance to travel. We want to give it as much of an opportunity as possible, and that is ejaculation, right? Okay, now, our next thing that we're having a look at, we're going to have a look at the male reproductive organs and the female reproductive organs. Now, we need to know the organs very well, because once you know the organs, then you can start putting them into play and telling you exactly what happens, and then you're going to go through how hormones involve and how this goes, and we'll do that. Okay, the next time I'm doing it, we'll understand how it works, how the hormones work with us, and how that comes into play with us, right? But at the moment, we need to look at the facts. Having a look at the small, how do I say it? The simple parts, the round part, before we get into the middle and the crux and the dirt. Right, we need to look at the simple things first, should I say. Okay, first one. That is the picture of the male reproductive organ. Okay, now the male reproductive organ is very, very specialized. Okay, there's different parts, okay, and you need to know what each part does. And the more in detail we go, the more difficult it becomes. Right, so what I've done here is I've given you the male reproductive organ, and I've just made you label it. It's all I want from you, right? So here we go. I want you to give a good label for that, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes, right? I know that I'm giving you all of this because practice makes perfect. You know this stuff. We've done it before, okay? 2 minutes. Let's see what you can do. Off you go. Right, you've done your labels. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm going through the labels, I'm going to explain what each part does. Right, okay. First one, and you would see during the whole part, I moved it down a bit because you could see there was a label missing. Okay, so we're going to start with that label that was missing. There it is, if it will work today. There we go. And I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to find its partner, and it goes right there. Okay, now that is this part. Okay, and that's that piece there, this whole piece here. Okay, now that is your erectile tissue. That fills with blood. And as it fills with blood, it gets hard. Okay, now the reason why it gets hard is because it's got to go into the vagina. So it's got to be a hard thing to actually get in. Okay, so it's very, very important. Okay, the next one that we're going to have a look at is, let's go, the testes. And the testes, if I bring all the way down here, okay, that is where your sperm is made. Okay, you can't say semen, it's sperm. That's where it is made, and that is the whole process of making the male sperm that we're going to learn about soon. It's inside there, right? The next one that I've got here is so cool. I love this word, and this is called your epididymis. Okay. Now, your epididymis is a tube. And what this tube actually does, if I just get a pen going here, and if you have a look on the side here, so that is your testicle, right? And what it does, it's a tube that goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and it just does that over and over again. But if you can see how small it actually is over here, it's phenomenally small. It's very, very small. Now, the reason for that is it stores the sperm cells, okay? And it's long and it's got many ups and downs and going crazy like that. The reason why it does that is so that the sperm can actually mature and get ready to go and join an egg, okay? So it takes a long journey up and down there all the time to become matured. That's your epididymis. Okay, your next one is your vas. Oh, wait, I've got to take that. Is your vas. No, come back. Not that one. There we go. Is your vas deferens. Okay, and that one is over here. And that is very simple. That there, the vas deferens, actually takes the sperm up a long tube all the way to the things like the corpus gland and the prostate gland and the seminiferous vesicles and all of that. So it's just a pipe joining the whole process. Okay, it's just a normal little pipe. Now, the next one that we have to look at, okay, if I follow up here, you've got your prostate gland. There it is. And your prostate gland gets put over here, okay. Now, your prostate gland, there's 3 glands that we're looking at. And I'm going to move this one over there, and I'm going to move your seminiferous vesicle. I'm going to put it in so that you can see what I'm trying to do. Okay, your seminiferous vesicles over there. Okay, so this one here, if I can get the pen working, this one here is your prostate gland, okay, all of those, and this one here, inside here, is your seminiferous vesicle. Now, there's another one called the corpus gland or the cowpus gland, right? Now, that gland itself, they work together, and all 3 of those glands together, they do the following. They give the sperm food. First one. Next one, it lubricates the urethra so the sperm can go through it nice and easily, right? And then another thing, it's alkaline. So it stops, when sperm gets put into the female, it stops the lady's uterus and everything else. I shouldn't say uterus, I should say the vagina. The whole thing stop being acidic, right? Those 3 things together make the semen. So it's your semen and your sperm together, all of those. Plus the cowpus gland, the prostate gland, and the seminiferous vesicles, all of those together make the semen. Eh? How cool is that? And then, of course, the last one that we've got to have a look at is your urethra, and that goes over there, and that is the external part. Right, that's the external part. And I know that you know what, I need a break. I really do, and I know you do. But look at this carefully, and it's one thing that we mustn't forget, is that the male's sexual organ, okay, and your excretory organ is the same pipe. It's the same pipe, both the urethra. Hey, think about that very carefully while you want a break, and I will see you just now. Welcome back. Now what I've got some work here for you. And I know I'm always asking you questions, but that's the best way to learn, okay? So what I've got is a couple of questions for you. I want you to go through it nice and slowly, okay? So first question I got for you is, what are the functions of the following? I want to know what the function of the testes is. I want to know the function of the vas deferens, and I want to know the function of the epididymis. That's the first one. Next one. Name the organ that produces testosterone. Give 2 functions of testosterone. These are simple questions. I know I haven't told you yet, but you should have known this. Next one. Semen is made up of secretions and sperm. Identify the glands that produce the secretion. What is the function of the secretions? So I've put a bit of effort into that one, right? That's a difficult one. And then last one. Why must the scrotum be outside of the body? Scrotum, remember what that is. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes for that. Remember, work smart. Think about it carefully. Put pen to paper. Off you go. the amount of smoke from all that thinking is ridiculous, right? Let's see how good you are. I know you guys have done well, so let's see. The first thing, what are the functions of the following? The testes, of course, they produce sperm and testosterone. We've already answered one of the questions. Don't forget that one. Next one, the vas deferens carries sperm from the seminiferous vesicle to the prostate gland, right? And remember, all the way down the epididymis and all of that. Okay, next one, epididymis, it stores sperm. Remember, it's those tubes that went like this, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Can you remember that? Okay, next one. Oh, come on, let's move. Name the organ that produces testosterone. Come on, you know this. It is your testes. And what? Give two functions of testosterone. Firstly, testosterone maintains the reproductive organ. It's got to be there. That's why the man has it. Okay, and then lastly, it's responsible for puberty. It all does secondary male characteristics, like the thick jaws and the big muscles and all of that. That's from testosterone. Okay, these are simple questions. Next one. Semen is made up of secretions and sperm. Okay, identify the glands that produce the secretion. What is the function of the secretion? We spoke about this as we were going along. Okay, so let's have a look at it. The secretion from the corpus gland, okay, remember the corpus gland, and it gives sperm greater motility. In other words, it gives it energy, right? Next one, and motility, there's a lot of different things. Remember, they're not really sure how all of these glands 100% work, but they all three help with it, okay? Next one, the seminal vesicle, and that gives food to the sperm. Okay, and then you got your last one, your prostate gland, which is alkalinity, motility of sperm. Have you noticed those two are the same? Okay, they're the ones that don't make it as I said, it makes it more alkaline. It makes the sperm move better. It makes it more less friction as well. Okay, so all of these things together, those three, they all work perfectly together. They have to work together. Without them, it's not going to work. Right. Okay, so those are the questions. Oh, there's one more. Why must the scrotum be outside of the body? The scrotum is outside of the body because the sperm gets made in a suitable temperature. They've got to be at the right temperature. And it's just below body temperature. So think about it. When it's cold, it gets pulled up close to the body to get hugged nice and warm. And when it's hot, it gets pushed away. And that's why, men, you will notice that your scrotum can shrink or go bigger to get the testes either further away from the body or closer. Okay, so here it is. The best temperature for sperm is slightly lower than body temperature. Therefore, the scrotum is outside of the body. Okay, simple ones. Now, the next thing we're going to have a look at is the female reproductive system. Okay, now this is a little bit less complicated. Okay, it's definitely a little bit less complicated, but becomes more complicated later. Okay, so you've got 1 minute to put those in order. You ready? Off you go. Let's put them into order. Right. First one, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up this time. You can always pick which one you want to go to. First one I have a look at is down here at the bottom, and that, of course, is the vagina. Okay, and the vagina is where the penis is inserted into the lady. Okay, next one, you get your cervix, and your cervix separate your vagina to your uterus, okay? If the cervix wasn't there, the baby would just fall out, which we don't want. So the cervix is there, and when it's time for birth, what happens is the cervix opens and then comes out. Right. Next one, of course, is the endometrium wall, which is over here, okay? That there, that's the endometrium wall. So if I had to color it in quickly, oh, I'm not going to use red. Red's not a good color for that. This is the endometrium wall, okay? Well, it's the endometrium, not the endometrium wall, okay? Endometrium. Then you've got the next one as we're moving up. You have your uterus. The uterus is over there, okay? That's where the baby sits if you become pregnant. The next one, you have your fallopian tubes. I'm going right to the top, fallopian tubes. And then you've got your last one, and that is your ovaries. Right. Your ovaries is where they make the eggs. Okay. And your estrogen, the main one. Well, I can't say the main one, but one of the female hormones come from the ovaries, right? And then you get the fallopian tubes, which takes the egg from the ovary all the way to the uterus. Okay, then you've got your endometrium, and that gets packed with blood, right? So that when the egg comes down, it's got something to plant into, okay, so that it's safe, and it gets all its nutrients from there later on, right? And then you've got your cervix, as I said, stops the baby from falling out, and then you've got your vagina where you put your penis as a male, right? Okay, now, that is the female reproductive organ. Okay, I like to look at something in a little bit more detail. Now, this here, and I'm going to explain to you how this thing works, okay? This is very important. I'm going to explain how it works, but I'm not going to give you in detail because later on, we're going to learn the detail. Right, so let's have a look at this. I'm going to get a pen here. Let's go, that's already pink, so we're going to go purple again. Okay, here we go. This thing here, that's in front of you now, this here is an ovary. Okay, and this is the production of an egg. So let's have a look at it. Okay, we're starting off here, and it moves in that direction. For the once, we're going anti-clockwise, right? We normally go clockwise. This time, we're going to go anti-clockwise. And we start off with these little things here. Okay, they're called follicles. And the follicles, the ovary starts making follicles. Okay, and these follicles grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, the proper name for these follicles are called Gr12 follicles. Okay, Gr12 follicles. So let's see, is the Gr12 follicle name here? No, so it's G-R-A-A-F-I-N, Gr12 follicles, right? So that's your Gr12 follicle. And the Gr12 follicle, sorry, as it grows bigger, inside the Gr12 follicle, the egg is made, right? So think about it. Gr12 follicle starts small, and as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the egg inside gets made. When it gets to the 14th, well, when it gets to a specific day, and I'll explain the 14th day later, when it gets to a specific day, that Gr12 follicle bursts and releases the egg. Now the egg gets pushed into the fallopian tube. Can you remember the fallopian tube? Gets pushed into the fallopian tube. And then what happens is whatever's left, the Gr12 follicle, once it's left the fallopian tube, once it's let the egg go, now it changes its name to a corpus luteum. And that corpus luteum, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappears. And once it's disappeared, it's gone. We start the process again. Now that is the making of an egg. That's quite cool, isn't it? It's a phenomenal process. Okay, now this here, I've just given you this whole piece here, and I've given it to you in a nutshell. In other words, I've given to you the basic parts of it. Okay, inside here, you still get all your hormones, and each thing changes slightly, and we're going to go into detail with that. Right, but let's have a look. I've got three questions for you. Okay, now these 3 questions are very important. I'm going to get them to you now. And then I'm going to give you a break, okay? When we come back, I want you to do these during the break for me, okay? So let's think about it. First one, what is the female hormone responsible for the production of secondary characteristics during puberty? Okay, the next one, okay, where are the eggs produced? And then last one, state 3 functions of the endometrium. 3 functions of the endometrium. So there it is again. What is the female hormone? What is the female hormone responsible for the production of secondary characteristics, female secondary characteristics? Where are eggs produced? And state 3 functions of the endometrium wall. Right, so I'm going to give you a break. Once your break's over, I'll go through the answers with you. Right, so I'll see you straight after this break. Welcome back. Now, you had a look at those questions during your break. I'm sure that was very quick for you. Okay, so let's have a look how your answers went. First one, I'm going to go in pink today. Right, what is the female hormone responsible for the production of secondary characteristics during puberty? Remember, your main hormone, and I always say your main hormone, but it's not really, okay? Your testosterone and your estrogen for the female. So there it is, estrogen. And remember, I explained that earlier. Where is it made? And of course, where are eggs produced? And it is in the ovary. Remember those little things hanging on the side before the fallopian tubes. Okay, next one. It says, state 3 functions of the endometrium. Let's see. Provide place for the fertilized egg to embed. Remember, it comes down the fallopian tube by the endometrium and then it got a place to hang on there, right? That's the first thing. It provides protection from developing fetus. It gives a protection. It looks after the developing fetus. Make sure that it's protected. And then the last ones forms part of the protective, is protecting during the pregnancy. It's exactly the same, forms part of the, I don't know why they've written it like this, but it forms part of the protection during pregnancy, and it gives the fetus stability, something to hold on to. All of those things together, is what happens to the egg when it's embedded in. Please remember that this whole endometrium. Now remember, you get the endometrium wall, so I just want to draw it here for you quickly. Okay, there it is. If I get the endometrium wall, I'm just going to draw it like this. Okay, there it is, and you get your cervix and so on. And this goes to the fallopian tubes, and this one comes down there. Okay, now, if I have a look at this wall here, we're going to start putting, well, there, some blood here, right? And that's your endometrium wall. If I put blood over there, and that blood there is where you're going to have your little egg, and I'm going to make it in pink, come down, and it's going to force its way and sit into there, okay? And that sitting into there gives it stability and protects it in every way, okay? Now, if, for example, fertilization doesn't happen, a different route, well, a certain route happens. This wall here, if I have a look at it, I'm going to do it in blue. When it comes to fertilization, if it's not fertilized, it's just a normal month where the egg is there. This wall breaks down, okay, so it leaves the body and it comes out the uterus, out the vagina, and then the female bleeds. Right, so that is getting rid of or menstruating. Okay, so that is the whole cycle. Okay, if I move down, there's no more questions. I've got the next one for you, what I want you to have a look at. Look at this. Simple. The menstrual cycle. This year, I'm going to give you a simple overview of it. Okay, and this simple overview is very, very important because as soon as we go into more detail about this, it gets a bit scary. Okay, so once you get the basics and you understand the basics, and then I start introducing more things. Because remember, you in this process, you've still got a thing called the endocrine glands, okay? Hormones come into play with us, and that's when it becomes a problem, okay? So let's have a look at what I have here for you, okay? We know that the menstrual cycle happens in every 28 days, okay? Every 28 days. This is, remember, in life science, we generalize. That's the big word I'm looking for. We generalize. Some people are 32 days, some 36, some even 24, okay? But generally, it's 28 days, okay? Next thing, the development and the releasing of the egg. So in other words, that is what the menstrual cycle is. It's making of the egg, okay, and then releasing it. And then the last one, growth and removal of the uterine lining if not pregnant. Very important. And you will notice, it's one of the big sayings that everybody says. It goes, oh my word, I'm late. Okay, which means the uterine wall hasn't broken down. And that is one of the signs, the first signs that you are, could be pregnant. It doesn't mean that you are. Okay, you still have to go for the tests and all of that. Sometimes it just, instead of being the 28, it's gone to 32. Okay, so you've got to look at it very, very carefully. So let's see what I have here. Okay, these are a couple of things. Okay, this here in front of you, there's 3 sections here. There's 3 sections that I want you to have a look at. No, there's only 2, but I'm going to draw in the third one for you. Okay, we have here, this one here, it's the first one, it's number 1. This section, number 2, and then you've got your last section, which I'm going to draw in for you, okay, which will be your number 3. Okay, now let's have a look at it. The first section. Okay, we have got this whole part here. And that part there, remember when I showed you the ovaries, okay? And the ovaries, inside, I remember showing you a thing called a Gr12 follicle and a corpus luteum and bursting of the Gr12 follicle, releasing of the eggs. So let's have a look what we have here. Okay, so we have a Gr12. Here it is. There it is, the Gr12 follicle. And this Gr12 follicle has got that little black thing in the middle. Can you see that little black thing? And I'm going to see if I can make a dot on it. There, well, right close to the dot as possible. There's a little black thing inside there. Now that is called your oocyte or your egg. Okay. Now as the Gr12 follicle gets bigger and bigger and bigger, as you can see, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The egg is inside here. Look at it. There's the egg now. Have you noticed how it's also getting bigger? Okay. Now, when this Gr12 follicle gets to a certain size, it's too big. So what it does is it bursts. And if you have a look over here, okay, at this picture, oh, I need to change color. If I have a look at this picture here, it bursts. And the bursting of the Gr12 follicle and releasing of the egg is called ovulation. Okay. Now, as that egg, now that we've dropped off that egg, okay, we drop off the egg and we literally put it in the fallopian tube and the egg goes that way. Now I'm not looking at the egg anymore. Now I'm looking at what's happening to that old Gr12 follicle, right? And as it drops off the egg, it changes its name to a corpus luteum, which we're going to get into detail. And that corpus luteum starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until there's nothing left. And if we have a look, that's where we end up until there's nothing left. Okay, now, these are the hormones that you are going to use during that system. Now, if we have a look at it, a lot of these hormones you've already heard of, you just don't know what they do. So we've got progesterone, we've got estrogen, we've got luteinizing hormone. Just think about it, corpus luteum, luteinizing hormone. Think about it. Then we've got FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone. We will get to that, but not today. Right, what I want to have a look at is something that's very cool. Okay, now when we have a look at the menstrual cycle, people forget that it is not, day 1 is not the day that you stop bleeding for females. It's the day you start. So over here, where this egg is over here, okay, that is the day that the uterine wall starts breaking down, okay? And as it breaks down, then it starts going up and growing and growing and growing and growing up to a certain point. But when it starts getting to that point, well, when it gets to that point again, it starts breaking down again. And that's the uterine wall. That's what happens inside, and it's breaking down all the time. Right. So when we do that in the next session, okay, you will understand it a lot better. As long as you understand now, roundabout, I've just given it to you. I've given you enough time to think it over. Right. Now, I'm going to change and have a look at this. I've got 4 questions for you. And these are in a little bit more detail, and we're going to explain them as we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go through this. And here we go. This is what they are. The first one is, what is the name of the structure inside the ovary where the egg develops, right? Where the egg develops. Next one, on which day of the menstrual cycle approximately does ovulation occur? The next one, if there is no fertilization, what happens to the lining of the uterus? And the last one, on average, how long is the menstrual cycle? Okay, it's all yours. Off you go, 3 minutes. Now you would think that these 4 little questions, so much time, you guys were not thinking. A lot of you don't think. So let's have a look at it. First one, which is very important. It says there, name, what is the name and structure inside the ovary where the egg develops? Okay, it is your Graafian follicle. Remember that big thing that starts off small and goes bigger and bigger and bigger and then bursts? Your Graafian follicle. A lot of people don't think about it. They always just go straight back to ovaries. And the biggest thing is people somehow miss it when they read it. That's why I gave you enough time. You've got to look at it carefully. Next one. On which day of the menstrual cycle approximately? Approximately. In other words, it can change. Okay? And does ovulation occur? What is ovulation? It is the bursting or releasing of the egg. Right, so there it is. It's on round about day 14, sometimes day 13, sometimes day 15. Could be longer, okay? Next one. If there is no fertilization, what happens to the lining of the uterus? Of course, it breaks down and leaves out the vagina, and that's called menstruation. Okay, the leaving or the blood leaving is called menstruation. It's part of the menstrual cycle. Okay, and then the last one, on average, how long is the menstrual cycle? Of course, we said 28 days. That means halfway through is where ovulation happens, the releasing of the egg, which is very, very important. Right, now, understand, all these things that I've given you is just an overview, okay? We're going to start going into big, big detail, especially of what happens in the ovary and what happens in the testes. And we're going to look at spermatogenesis and oogenesis soon. Right, so all I can say is, hope you got together, hope you understood the stuff. Please don't forget it, and I will see you soon. Cheers.